real people, real talk, and unreal news, this is Sunday Blues with Ren and Jerry.
Today we want to talk to you guys about an issue local to Austin. And it kind of exemplifies, I guess, the larger problem that we have in Austin of gentrification, of minority communities, and also that, I mean, we know that's happening all across the country in cities all over the U.S.
Yeah, and rising property values.
Yeah, so this story kind of exemplifies that. Basically, it came out this week that the Blue Cat Cafe on the east side of Austin was vandalized. And that was significant because I guess it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, that was the site of a local Austin business being demolished without notice to the ground. So anyway, the article that we're going to read first is from the Austin American-Statesman, and the author is Anna Herod. So it says, the owner of the Blue Cat Cafe discovered profane graffiti against "You Gentrified Scum" on the walls of the building early Friday after vandals glued the doors shut, trapping mewing cats inside the eatery. Blue Cat Cafe, which opened its doors a year ago on October 17th, has served as a home to more than 200 cats adoptable through the Humane Society. The opening of the feline harboring caffeine destination was controversial, as it was built on the property where the Jumpolin Pinata store had been demolished to the shock of its owners. So yeah, that happened just this week. Yeah. So I mean, there's kind of like there's shades of gray, I would say, in this story,
definitely.
Because it is nice that they help adopt cats.
Yeah, they're definitely doing a good cause out there. Adopting these cats, taking care of them. Allowing people to go to there and give them some love, and honestly, what these vandals did was wrong, to basically trap the cats in there, and also give threats. Yeah, it was. I think it was wrong, but at the same time, I understand why. It was because these people are angry because that Pinata place was a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
And that's what it was before. This Pinata owned by a family, I believe, and a lot of the neighbors knew about it, and they had already started witnessing gentrification happening in that neighborhood. And then with this one, the way it was, they got rid of the people that owned that shop was just horrible.
Yeah, and so we can go back to that. This is from another article from Austin Culture Map written by Shelley Seal. And this was written right after it happened, so it kind of describes the situation. It says, the owners of the Jumpolin and tenants of the building, Sergio and Monica Lejarasu, say they had no idea that the building was going to be razed and were in shock when they drove up to see the demolition crews tearing down the place with everything still inside. Their entire business and livelihood, store inventory, cash registers, and other property were smashed to pieces on the ground.
Oh my god.
So that's why, yes, it was a very painful experience, obviously, for these people directly and for the community at large, and why now today people are like harassing the Blue Cat Cafe.
Yeah.
Because this was done in just kind of such a despicable way.
Yeah.
But if you think that sounds bad, wait. Okay, and this is a quote from their lawyer from that same article. They had paid their rent in full. The default was cured, even though they were not in default. He says, the bottom line is the owners have plans to build on that piece of property, and my client's contractual right to have possession of the premises was just getting in the way of that. So they were trying to claim, well, you hadn't paid your rent in full, but according to their lawyer and to themselves, yes, they had.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, so it was very contentious at that time.
So they show up to their place that's being destroyed, and they had paid full rent. They had done everything right, and it was all because the owner decided on a whim, who cares about these people? I want to build this place.
Or even just demolish it so he can sell the land.
Yeah, which I think is what happened. I mean, did he plan? Like, I don't know if there are any other buildings on that property, but the Cat Cafe was built on that land.
Yes, exactly. It was basically built on the ruins of the Jumpolin shop.
Yeah, so was that his plan altogether? I mean, I think that's strange. Like, let's destroy this Pinata shop so we can just build a cat cafe.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why he may have sold it to another person who's now renting it out to the cat
Yeah, it always
cafe that's just housed there. I mean, so we don't know that
it always
background,
comes
but
down to money.
this guy, his last name was French, and you'll just love to hear what he has his response to this. It says, French, however, said that he believes the piñata and party business was only a front for the real dealings of the store. He points to an arrest record in May that shows in May 2014 that shows that Sergio was arrested for buying 2 stolen bicycles from a police informant. It's unclear whether he knew the bikes were stolen when he bought them. In any case, Peters maintains that the arrest is completely irrelevant to the case. Probably their livelihood was selling helium and stolen bicycles, French said. They weren't making a living selling piñatas. They were selling something else. I don't want to speculate what that is. However, he went on to suggest that it was likely quote-unquote uncontrolled substances.
Wow.
That's just my opinion, though, he stated.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is bullshit.
Yeah, and this isn't even. I encourage people to go back. We'll put it in our show notes. Read this full article because this isn't even the extent, to how these people were abused by this guy and totally like taking things out of context. They were saying they had permit violations because they had helium in their store.
Yeah,
they
had
that
balloons. Is a piñata store.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, suspecting them of that, and you don't actually need permits for helium. So that was just total bullshit, and he was just trying to accuse them of all these violations of their lease.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Turn.
He was definitely reaching with that bike thing.
Yeah, and then this just kind of like digs the knife into your heart in this story because it's like, but the Lejarasas have been running their business at the property for 8 years and another 3 years before that in a different location. They sold moonwalks that Sergio built himself and piñatas imported from Mexico, as well as those that Monica had handmade in the store. Customers would come in and say, I want a piñata like that one. Only can you change this or that, she said. Sometimes they'd bring in their children to see the piñatas being made.
Oh, yeah.
That just broke my heart when I read that because it's like, yes, it is possible for people to fucking run a legitimate piñata business.
Yeah, I'm from Laredo. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
They have piñata shops everywhere. Come on, that's just bull. They're just making up bullshit so they don't sound as inhumane as they are. They're fucking assholes to fucking take out these people, this family, and and their livelihoods depended on that. And they had the piñata shop for a long time, and yeah, like I said, they were a pillar of the community. The community loved them. Like you just heard it right there. They treat the neighborhood's children right. It's just devastating that that's legal. That they were legally able to. Just do that to a store owner. That's bullshit. It's like they didn't have any rights.
Yeah, and there was an outcry at the time that this happened.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was a big contingent of Austinites that were like, what the fuck? Like, we see, and living here in Austin, we've come pretty accustomed to seeing our entire neighborhoods transformed by the influx of yuppie, like, high-end culture everywhere.
It is. You can't escape everywhere.
It. And the east side, especially that area of the east side, because it's right across the river, well, not across the river, across the highway from downtown, has seen it really bad. That we're predominantly, before the boom that started like 10 years ago, they were predominantly minority communities, and now they're just getting pushed out.
And I'm sure this is happening in your city, or if you live in a big city. It's I've visited other cities, and it's the same thing, where these communities of color are being bought out, the property value's going up, taxes are going up, and they can't afford to live on their property anymore, and they're being pushed out of town, and nobody cares. And then nobody cares about the homeless situation either. And it's getting a lot harder to live nowadays, especially for low-income communities. Because of this. And I mean, this is the history. We're actually witnessing the history and culture of Austin being decimated so they could be rebuilt with these posh, concrete, cold, lifeless buildings. It's just really sad. And it's in the, who do those people service? They service people who have money. They're servicing all the people, that are coming here from other states where it's a lot more expensive to live. And they're all coming to Austin. It's hip and everything. And those are the people paying patrons at those companies at the expense of the people who live here. And especially if you don't have money, you can't afford to live here anymore. Where the community is being replaced with all these luxury buildings, you can't afford to live here anymore.
No, you can't. And this is just kind of the latest chapter in the saga for us here in Austin, but we thought it was interesting and wanted to share it with you guys.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because you're also seeing the struggle between an honorable family who was crushed, and you see a neighborhood that's upset. Like, we're witnessing the after effect of that, which is a neighborhood who feels powerless, that they weren't able to there was no justice with this, and now they're taking it on the Cat Cafe. When the Cat Cafe, like, they're just a business, whatever. Yes, it's like a huge example of gentrification. But honestly, I don't blame the Cat Cafe owners. I don't blame, they're actually helping cats. I think that the community, they're taking it on the wrong people. They really need to be going after this asshole who is the owner of that property.
Well, and also that the city allowed it to happen. For sure. I know that Greg Kassar did pass legislation very recently that said that if you are going to evict renters because you're going to demolish it and build something else or whatever, when you acquire new property, that you have to give tenants at least 3 months notice, or good. 3 or 4 months notice by law, by city ordinance, because it used to not be where you had to give so much notice.
Wow, so that's a victory right there. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, that's great for renters all over the city who the cheaper places that we all used to flock to are disappearing. But anyways, well, we're gonna call that a wrap for today's episode. But our website is sundaybluespodcast.com. Our Twitter handle is @sundaybluespod, and we are available on SoundCloud and Stitcher. So drop us a line. We love to hear from you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Keep listening.